Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. My lovely ladies. Welcome to this episode of my podcast, Coach Caris, Itchy, Bitchy, and guests. So, I base my podcast on women in midlife who are ready to feel stronger, more confident, and finally in control of their health and their body again. All right, this shit can be hard, but if you are in the deep dark hole that is the perimenopause, I absolutely 100% promise you it gets better. I absolutely promise you gets better. All right, from the heart. Years of coaching women, just like you. I know one thing for sure, for absolute sure, 100%, all right? Despite where you are in your perimenopause midlife journey, you are not broken. Your metabolism is not broken. You are not broken, all right? This does not have to be your life if you are in the deep, dark hole. The pain gets less. The mental fortitude gets better. Your love for life will return. The fun stuff will return, but you have to take control and make a decision to look after you and put you first, all right? It is absolutely possible to lose fat in midlife, all right? I have lost 26 pounds in the last year. It is possible, all right? It's absolutely possible to get fitter. If you're not fit at the moment, you can reverse. Absolutely. Yeah, 7 years ago, I used to smoke, drink to excess, eat shite. I was 3 stone overweight. So it is possible, all right? And also, finally, the last thing that is possible, the last two things that are possible, it is actually possible to feel fucking amazing in your 40s and your 50s. Absolutely 100%. It is possible to be strong. And it is also possible, sorry, this is the third thing, it is also possible to have a love for life and laugh. Absolutely, absolutely. So in today's episode, however, I am going to share my top dieting and fat loss hacks. That makes me sound like I've got some secret and I've reinvented the wheel. I actually haven't, but I do hope, a lot of people say this, I do hope that you will actually listen to me saying it and you will actually believe that these things do work, all right? Specifically for midlife women, because we need to do things slightly different because our hormones are fucking chaos, all right? Things that actually work without extreme restriction, without hours of cardio, without trying to eat like a 20-year-old influencer. I don't even know what a 20-year-old influencer eats. Iced coffee, probably. Anyway, if you ever thought nothing works anymore, right, this episode is for you. And what I want to say also on that note is a lot of people, a lot of women especially, I hear it all the time, all right, will say, I've tried everything. I've tried everything and nothing works, right? No, you haven't. What you've actually tried is everything that's still in your comfort zone. So prepare to unlearn everything you thought you knew about dieting, because I'm going to tell you exactly what works, all right? And then you can decide if you want to do it or not. Excellent. Right. So, first thing you need to remember is that things that used to work will not work now. They just won't work anymore. Right, your body is different from what it was in your 20s, in your teens, in your 30s. And if you're in your 50s now, your body's different from when you were in your 40s. So don't think that you should be trying to chase something that you used to have, right? The midlife and the perimenopause is not about getting back what you had, because you should never look back unless you're planning on going that way, all right? We evolve. We are different. I am absolutely not the person that I was in my 20s and 30s and 40s, right? I don't have the same experiences, thank fuck, by the way, because we're pretty fucking horrific, some of them. But I'm a lot more chilled. I'm hilarious. I think I've always been hilarious, to be fair. But I am a lot more chilled, and you just learn to actually not give a fuck about what people think about you. So please, please, please think about not hankering after what you had, but working towards what you actually want, because They're two completely different things, all right? Your body's different. Your hormones are different. Our hormones potentially start going haywire and they start dropping off the scale from like our 30s. So your hormones are different. Your lifestyle, I bloody guarantee you, your lifestyle will be totally different from what it was in your 20s and your 30s and maybe your 40s as well. Your stress levels are also different, all right? We have a lot of stuff on as midlife women. A lot of yous will have children that are still growing up, whether that's younger children or teenagers, all right? They're still growing up. You still I know you'll always have a responsibility to them, but they're not necessarily independent, all right? You'll have husbands, partners, wives. Your job might be more stressful because you've took years to work up to the ideal job or what you thought was the ideal job. You've possibly still got elderly parents. Do you know, you still need things on top of that. You still need friends. You still need time with your partner. Do you know, you still need date nights. You still need nights out with your pal. You need time on your own. You need to make time for the gym. There's a lot of pressure on us and a lot of people needing a part of us. And if you're not going to look after yourself first, all of that is going to seem like a chore. And you're just going to stick two fingers up it and kid on that you're being a rebel. Whereas in fact, all you're actually doing is not looking after yourself, and that's not cool, all right? But what I said at the very beginning, you're not broken. Your metabolism's not broken. It might have slowed down marginally because you've been trying to live on 800 calories for the last 40 odd years, but it's not broken. It is 100% fixable, all right? So you need to think about doing something different. And again, another cheesy saying, if you want a different result, do something different. If you were living on coffee and nicotine and a salad every day of the week when you were 20 and you could stay skinny and drop fat, fucking amazing, right? That's not going to work now. 100% it's not going to work. And would you seriously, would you actually want it to work? No, of course you wouldn't, all right? First things, calorie deficit, all right? You must be in a calorie deficit. Now, if somebody asked me how long I'd been on a diet, right, I could quite easily say 30 years. Right, I haven't actually been on a diet for 30 years. What I've actually done is try to undereat Monday to Friday and kick the fucking arse out at the weekend. So you can't live on low calories, right? Your body needs calories. Your brain needs calories. You need calories to pump blood around your body. You need calories for your brain to function. So trying to live on 800 to 1,000 calories, your body is not even going to manage the basics, let alone fat loss, which is why you feel constantly knackered, constantly fatigued, constantly raging, constantly angry, and constantly cannot be fucked. You need calories, all right? When you undereat, and I get it, and I'm not speaking about a healthy calorie deficit. I'm speaking about a ridiculous amount of calories that you're trying to live on, like a ridiculously low amount of calories that you're trying to live on, all right? Your energy levels will drop. If your energy levels drop, you can't be arsed doing anything, which means you move less. Right? It's a vicious circle. Surely it's better to eat more and move more than eat less and move less. I mean, come on. We want to have energy for life. We want to have a lust for life. We want to have a love for life. Right? Low energy. We also start to lose muscle. We start to lose muscle anyway as we get older, and if you're not lifting weights, please consider lifting weights, alright? It's fuck all to do with dieting. It's about your long-term health and your long-term independence, probably more than anything, alright? But when you diet, right, this is the difference between fat loss and weight loss. When we diet, like if you're just going to try and live on 1,000 calories, all right, you're going to lose body fat, yes, which means you'll be a skinnier version of what you are now, but you're also going to lose muscle, so you're going to lose muscle tone, so you're just going to look like you've got no muscle, right, which is not particularly a good look neither, all right? You're going to have flabby skin, you're going to have you could be a perfect, whatever your size is, you could be a perfect size, but you're still going to have muffin overhang, you're still going to have flabby thighs, you're still going to have flabby underarmy bits like your triceps, right? Unless you build the muscle at the same time. So we need to retain and build the muscle that we've got, all right? Your sleep is going to be shit. So yes, calorie deficits and dieting and undereating affect your sleep. The difference is when you're in a healthy calorie deficit and you're looking after yourself, it's only for a time, it's only for a period of time. So generally you can turn it into a positive and just suck it up. My sleep was shit at the end of my calorie deficit. Absolutely shit. And obviously it's a bit shit anyway because I'm perimenopausal. But I knew it was going to be really shit for like 6 weeks while I was on my lowest calorie deficit. And then it gets better again. All right. So it does affect your sleep. Also affects your cravings and your binge cycling. This is why you can totally cut out chocolate and sweeties and sugar and alcohol Monday to Friday and then go mental at the weekend, because the answer to being in a calorie deficit and the answer to eating all the chocolate is not to cut it out. It's just to practice portion control. So what we want to do is keep all your treats in. And if that's alcohol and it's the government, under the government guidelines of alcohol, that's totally cool. All right. I have 2 Freddos a day now. 2 Freddos a day is amazing. All right. So top tip number 3, protein is your best friend. You need to try and start every single meal with your protein. It will keep you feeling fuller for longer, all right? Protein is processed last in our body. So carbs and fat are processed in the mouth, all right? Protein is processed in your stomach. And your stomach doesn't let the protein out, doesn't let anything else out your stomach until it's processed the protein, which is why the food stays in your tummy for longer and you feel a bit fuller for longer. Eat your protein, all right? You are aiming for at least 20 grams of protein per meal, preferably nearer 40 grams, right? Or 50 plus grams. So just think, right, if you ate 40 grams of protein at each meal, 3 meals a day, that's 120 grams of protein, right? Ideally, we want you to be up at about 130 to 160-ish, depending on your body weight, all right? Just as a rough guideline. But if you're only eating about 60 just now, you've doubled it straight away. 120 grams of protein is absolutely banging. A wee protein yogurt for an afternoon snack, that's your 135 to 140 grams of protein. Maybe even a protein shake. There you are, 160 grams of protein, just like that. Yeah. Pick your protein first, my lovelies. Put that on your plate, all right? A nice palm size. What a fist size? Palm size, all right? Amazing. Right, strength training. It's absolutely essential. Absolutely. And you can call it what you like. Some people call it lifting weights. Some people call it resistance training. Some people call it weightlifting. Some people call it CrossFit. Some people call it strength training. All right, just lift weights. Whether it's a dumbbell, a kettlebell, a barbell, it doesn't matter. Could be your body weight to start with. Do you know what I mean? If you can't do a push-up and you're really, really struggling, but you can knock out 10 on your knees, all right, that's still resistance training. You're still lifting your body weight. And then eventually you can just make things a wee bit harder by going a wee bit heavier, getting a heavier kettlebell or a heavier dumbbell, or putting a weight plate on your back when you're doing your push-ups, or lifting a heavier barbell. So think about it, all right? It's not for fat loss. It's absolutely not for fat loss, but it is for longevity, all right? We want to be on this planet for longer. Of course we do. We want to spend as much time as possible with the people that we love. Of course we do. Right? It's for bone health and joint health. It's for mobility. It's for stability. So it's going to stop you falling over. All right? It's going to give you guns. Who doesn't want guns? What woman? Show me a woman that tells me they don't want nice arms and I'll show you a fucking liar. We all want nice arms. Admittedly, I used to want a 6-pack, right? 100%. I remember starting CrossFit 7 years ago and I was like, right, within the first year I'm going to complete CrossFit and I'm going to get a 6-pack. And then I actually discovered how little you need to eat to have a 6-pack. So I don't really want a 6-pack anymore. I'm not prepared to put that amount of effort in. But I have got nice arms now. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Strength training, right? It does. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you will burn, right? So muscle burns more calories than body fat. Absolutely 100%. But if you go into strength training thinking that you're doing it for fat loss and then you won't need to sort out your diet, you're going to be in for a long haul, my lovelies, all right? The only way you will lose body fat is to sort out your nutrition. So body fat is sorted by nutrition. Body shape is sorted by lifting weights. 2 completely different things, all right? Another thing that I hear, and I also used to be very guilty of this, is chasing perfection. I was absolutely an all in or all out kind of gal, right? Until somebody said to me, if you are all in being perfect, I mean like totally all over every single part of my life, right? 7 days a week, forever. First of all, you're going to crash and burn, right? But all you're doing is when you're not on it, because if you're going to go all in 7 days a week, you're going to crash and burn at some point, right? When you're not on it, as in I'm all in or all out, all you're basically doing is giving yourself an excuse not to try. So I want you to think about consistency, right? Consistency is king or queen. Let's say queen. Consistency is queen. You don't need to be perfect, right? Nobody is perfect. None of us can sustain perfectionism, especially as far as food is concerned, because what are you going to do if you're going out for dinner? Are you just going to start refusing every single social event? Well, you're perimenopausal, so you actually might do that for a while, but when you're living the life that you want to live and you're feeling pretty awesome, right? Because you will, I absolutely promise you. Saying no to every social event is not realistic, all right? Like, are you never going to have an alcoholic drink again? Are you never going to eat a bit of chocolate again? Are you never going to sit and eat a bowl of pasta again? Are you never going to have crisps again, or ice cream, or cake, or go on holiday, or celebrate your birthday? Of course you are. So learning to work around those situations when you're working towards fat loss is it really is the only way to go. Like, absolutely 100% is the only way to go. Because the fat loss method that you use, you should be able, and I'm not speaking calorie deficit because you need a calorie deficit, but whatever that is, right? Whether it's flexible eating, which basically means eating a bit of everything that you fancy all the time and doing the healthy stuff, all right? Whether it's intermittent fasting, whether it's the paleo diet or whatever, right? Whatever method you choose to lose weight, right? You should be able to follow that at maintenance calories for the rest of your life. 100%. You should not be changing everything about your life to lose fat, because when everything changes when you get to your goal, you're going to be fucked. All right? I am a massive believer in flexible eating. A massive believer, because all you really need to do is cut your portions. You don't actually need to cut anything out. So why would you not do that? Oh, confirmation bias. Remember I spoke about that before. All right? Right, so the best activity you can do for fat loss, to enhance your fat loss and to help your fat loss and for your general health, is walking, right? It's absolutely underrated. It supports fat loss, obviously, because you're burning calories. All right, it aids your digestion, so it cuts out bloating. It helps with stress, because getting outside is absolutely underrated, right? Regardless of whether it's raining, snowing, blowing a fucking hoolie, or 26 degrees like it was at the weekend, right? The best thing you can do is get outside and go for a walk. Get out in the woods. Get out in the streets if you need to, all right? It's a massive, massive, massive tool. Stress and sleep and hormones play a role. I've also done a podcast on sleep, right? We think that it's this intangible thing that we just do because it's dark outside and because it's nighttime. Whereas if you can prioritise your sleep, this is when your body repairs itself. It's when your brain repairs itself. It's when your brain processes all the information that you've taken in throughout the day, stores the stuff that we need and discards all the other shit, right? So the perimenopause, as far as I'm concerned, right, brain-wise, can sometimes feel, if you picture standing in front of a filing cabinet, right, and you open the top drawer of the filing cabinet and it's filled with all the little filey things, do you know, that you flick through, right? So that's your brain. So if you start randomly pulling them out and chucking them all over the floor, that's what the perimenopause can feel like, right? You literally do not understand why you can't remember stuff, why stuff's in the wrong place, why you just feel like chaos, right? So if you think about your perimenal brain as a filing cabinet, you're just standing there pulling out all the files, chucking them all over the floor, all right? Looking after yourself, actually making the decision to look after yourself, exercising and eating well will put all those files back in that drawer in the right order, so you'll actually be able to find everything that you need when you need it, all right? The two biggest things you can do for perimenopause are eat well and move more, right? So lift weights and eat well. The two hardest things to do when you're perimenopausal is to lift weights and eat well, because we're battling everything else at the same time, all right? But if you can get a process in place for your nutrition and a process in place for your exercise and your weightlifting and your activity, all right? And at the times when it's shit and you feel like your brain is that filing cabinet with everything all over your office floor, if you can follow those processes blindly, you will absolutely come out the other end until you feel like you're back in control. I kid you not, by the way, all right? Stress and hormones, all right, they're not excuses. There's a lot of people out there that use excuses, right? And it is tough and it is shit, but it is also very manageable. The minute you commit to looking after yourself, so the minute you make that decision to make some changes, remember, we're not looking for perfection, we're just looking for some healthy changes, your confidence will increase like that. I kid you not, right? It won't be where you want it to be, but you will feel way more confident than you do when you're sitting on the sofa eating pizza and crisps and scrolling on Insta and drinking wine, etc., etc., all right? The body that we have and the hormones, right, they're where they are. So why not make the decision to try and support them, your body and your hormones, instead of fighting against them? And the way to support them is to look after yourself, to fill your body with 80% of the time, whole, unprocessed, nutritious food, and to lift some fucking weights. I kid you not, all right? Mindset is a very hard thing, right? But it's also an absolute game changer. So I want you to try and stop thinking about good and bad days, because the minute we do that is, oh my God, I never slept last night, I'm going to have a bad day. So guess what's going to happen? You're fucking going to have a bad day. Of course you are, because you never slept, so you're tired. You're going to eat shit for your breakfast, you're going to have some sugary cereal or some Haribos, or you're going to skip breakfast, right? Then that's going to lead on to, I've got the 10:30 sugar craving, so you're going to have Haribo or a packet of crisps or something, all right? And then you're going to think, it's lunchtime, fucked it. So you're going to go to the takeaway shop for your lunch, all right? Afternoon snackage will be the same, and then you'll just eat shit for your dinner. You might even go to the takeaway shop on the way home, pick up a bottle of wine for the supermarket. And then after your dinner, and because you're drinking wine, you're going to have the total evening munchies, so you're just going to eat chocolate, right? So you already decided the minute you got out of your bed, consciously or subconsciously, that you were going to have a bad day. So therefore you had a bad day, all right? Whereas what you could have done was actually, at the very least, grabbed a banana and an apple and a couple of Baby Bells, protein, carbs, for your breakfast, all right? And then you could have sorted something else out for the rest of the day. So try and think about, it's not a good day and a bad day, right? I actually got an email off one of the coaches that I work with, and our email was entitled Win the Day, and it's pretty much about winning the day regardless of what you can do. So today, if you've woken up and you didn't sleep well, winning the day for you could actually be grabbing an apple and a banana out the fruit bowl, a couple of Baby Bells out the fridge, all right? And that's going to motivate you to be awesome the rest of the day with your food, etc. That's literally winning the day, right? Now, on a day that you had slept well and you were actually on fire, you could have done way more than that. You could have made your overnight oats and took them to your work. You've packed your lunch, you've shoved your dinner in the slow cooker, etc., etc., all right? Or you've got up and you've went to the gym. So those are two very different winning the days, but they're still winning the day, right? So if you can let go of perfection, let go of the good and the bad days, and literally be okay with doing what you can, then you're obviously going to win the day, and it's going to make a massive amount of difference, all right? A couple of things meal-wise, and I've mentioned this before, but I will mention it again just because it is super important, is start every meal with protein, right? Now, whether you're eating out, whether you're on holiday, whether you're in the house, if you can pick your protein first, all right, you are halfway to building a healthy plate of food, all right? Just fill the other half with some carbs and fruit and veg. Fruit and veg is carbs, by the way, but starchy carbs. So if you need a wee potato or whatever, fine, have a wee potato. But think about your portion sizes, all right? So when I started this fat loss journey a year ago, my portion size for uncooked pasta would be 100 grams, all right? When I was finishing off in my very low deficit, my portion of uncooked pasta was 25 grams. Now, you might think that's actually fuck all, and it's probably about 10 spirals of pasta, but it was enough to give me energy to get me through my training session the next morning or to get me through my dog walk or whatever, right? Very rarely, how many people actually weigh pasta if you're not? I dread to think about how much pasta I used to eat when I wasn't tracking my food. It was probably about 200 grams of uncooked, to be fair, right? So now I have 50, 75 grams, depending on how hungry I feel. All right, so think about that, all right? As for your protein, right, get some Greek yogurt in your breakfast, get some protein powder in your overnight oats, chicken and eggs, all right, for lunches, beans for dinner if you don't eat meat. Do you know, a tin of beans has got like 9 to 10 grams of protein. Yes, you might need to supplement it with a protein shake, but it's cool, all right, it's totally cool. So, pause halfway rule. Quite a lot of the time, our brain takes time to register fullness, and most of us eat past it without realising, so just slow it down. And then lastly, stop arriving at meals starving. Right, if you're not eating snacks, don't listen to anybody that tells you snacking is bad, all right? If you're not eating snacks, your body's only job is survival, so you're just going to over-portion everything, all right? As always, my lovelies, I've got all these notes written down, by the way, so if you want a copy of them, just give me a shout. Find me on the socials, give me a follow. If you want to rate me, that would be amazing, all right? Fat loss tips. You do not have to change your life, you just need to change some of your habits. Bye-bye.